In the next several weeks leading up to the release of Avengers Endgame, the conclusion of the Infinity Stone and Infinity Gauntlet storyline within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least what we've known of it up until now, I will be reviewing each of the main storylines within the Infinity Saga, featuring Thanos and the Infinity Gems found within Marvel Comics, starting with Thanos Quest, then the Infinity Gauntlet from 1991, Infinity War from 1992, and finally the Infinity Crusade from 1993. I'll even be throwing in the 2013 storyline, Infinity, for good measure. Starting with today's review, The Thanos Quest, written by Jim Starlin and illustrated by Ron Lim. As its title suggests, this two-issue story depicts the beginning of a quest, or spiritual journey if you will, of its title character Thanos, the Mad Titan. Thanos Quest would lay the groundwork and light the fuse for what would become one of Marvel's biggest crossover events of the 1990s. We all know Thanos now due to his various appearances in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, played by Josh Brolin. After his depiction in last year's Avengers Infinity War, Thanos has arguably become the greatest villain the franchise has produced in its 10-year history. It will be difficult for Marvel and Disney to surpass his level of quality in the near future. But back in the mid to late 1970s, when this character was first introduced, he wasn't that big of a deal, all things considered. Compared to other supervillains Marvel offered up at the time, Thanos was fairly mediocre and only appeared once throughout the 1980s. However, he was revived in the early 1990s among the pages of Silver Surfer Volume 3, number 34, by Mistress Death, Marvel's physical embodiment of death, who feels the universe is out of balance and asks for Thanos' services to fix it. In the following issue, Thanos explains the great imbalance to the Surfer. He goes on about life and death and how they both need the other in order to exist. The scientific breakthroughs of planet Earth, for example, have increased the average lifespan, that the world is becoming overpopulated, humans are polluting their planet and burying themselves in waste, life has become a ticking time bomb, and destruction is inevitable. And it's not just Earth. Thanos explains that this is happening everywhere across the universe. It might be different circumstances leading up to it, but the result is always the same, self-destruction. He has returned because Mistress Death wants him to solve this great imbalance, and solve it he will. His plan is to end the lives of 50% of the universe's population, and with that, he begins his quest, the Thanos Quest. Part 1 is titled Schemes and Dreams. Thanos is seen gazing into Mistress Death's Infinity Well, a cosmic vortex that houses universal knowledge. Mistress Death calls to him and wonders what knowledge Thanos has found to aid him in his task. He tells her that due to the likely interference he will receive while trying to accomplish it, he needs to augment his powers even further. He tells her about the Soul Gems, also known as the Infinity Stones in the MCU, that he had attempted to use before to destroy all the stars in his galaxy, but now he understands all their hidden secrets. She accepts his offer to use them to reach his goal, and Thanos sets off to acquire all 6. As he travels to the first gem in the possession of the In-Betweener, he explains that he fears nothing except failing the one he cherishes. If you don't know this by now, Thanos is deeply in love with Mistress Death, because he admires death itself. He is a nihilist in every sense of the word. It's the whole reason he's going to these lengths to please her. Anyways, Thanos arrives at the nexus of reality, the center point of existence where chaos and order meet. It is here that the In-Betweener is being held captive. Thanos agrees to free the In-Betweener. In return, he wants his gratitude, though in reality, it's the green soul gem Thanos wants from him, embedded nicely in his forehead. Weakened by the Nexus, Thanos easily overpowers the In-Betweener because chaos and order have no influence over him, and he acquires the gem. Thanos leaves the In-Betweener to be punished by Lord Chaos and Master Order. With the Soul Gem, the owner of it can manipulate the will of anyone they desire. Next up is the Red Power Gem, currently in the possession of Champion on the planet Tamarata. Despite the warrior's natural strength augmented by the gem, he is still no match for Thanos' fighting ability and technique. Thanos toys with him, making him feel like he has an advantage or an opening, and then, wham! Down goes Champion. Thanos finds the warrior to be too predictable, explaining that power is nothing without a solid mind to back it up. Champion's unchecked anger and force begins to rip the planet apart, something Thanos saw coming, knowing what the power gem is capable of. With the champion of the universe stranded out in space, he begs Thanos to transport him to another planet, for which Thanos agrees, as long as Champion gives him the power gem. He does, and Thanos carries him to another planet and lets him go. Happy landings. With 2 of the 6 soul gems in his possession, Thanos will need both to acquire number 3, the time gem, currently wielded by a former Elder of the Universe known as the Gardener. Thanos meets with him in his garden, and Gardener knows why he is there, no need to bullshit. Gardener attacks his foe with plants, but Thanos easily breaks free. The Mad Titan understands why Gardener wants to keep his gem, to rapidly speed up and freeze time in order to create beautiful plants for his garden. Thanos understands the love he has for them, much like his own love for Mistress Death. With that said, Thanos must still take it. While Gardener's vines grew, Thanos used his power gem to increase the abilities of the time gem, thus turning it against its bearer. Though he feels some level of sadness for what he was forced to do, the quest must continue. There are still 3 more soul gems out there, somewhere in the galaxy, to collect. Part 2 is entitled Games and Prizes. The next being standing between Thanos and his ultimate goal is the Collector. The Elder has been monitoring Thanos since his battle with Champion, and much like Gardener, knows that he wants the Soul Gem, which Thanos now has chosen to call Infinity Gems. The Mad Titan tells Collector that he will soon come into possession of a rarer object than the Infinity Gem, something Collector will be willing to part with in order to obtain. Thanos tells him he will contact him soon on the matter. He then waits and waits, preparing for the Collector to use the power of his gem against him, but no, nothing happens. All is good. The Elder doesn't realize its true power. In the meantime, Thanos travels to the coordinates of the Runner, in possession of the next gem. The being takes him off guard though, and destroys his favorite chair. Thanos tries to sweet-talk him, but Runner explains that the Grandmaster warned him of his arrival. With the power of the purple space gem, he can travel faster than the speed of light. It seems that Thanos has met his match. Runner forces Thanos to tell him why these gems are so important, to which he does. They are all reincarnated pieces of a once single entity that existed before space and time. It was infinity and forever, as close to God as they come. As he talks, he explains that Runner has left himself wide open for Thanos to use the power of another infinity gem, the time gem. He ages Runner by over 1,000,000 years before taking the space gem from the virtually immortal being and turning him back into a baby. He then takes him with him back to the Collector. Yup, you know what's coming. Thanos offers the Collector the chance of having an infant Elder in his collection, a rare item he is willing to trade for the yellow reality gem. The Collector accepts, as long as Thanos doesn't interfere with his existence. He agrees. Thanos then explains the true nature of the reality gem to the Collector, and offers him a demonstration. Terrified, he wants it taken away from his museum at once. As Thanos leaves, he reveals that the time gem's effect is only temporary. Collector has been duped. The final Infinity Gem is in the possession of the Grandmaster, the Blue Mind Gem. It will be Thanos' greatest challenge. Grandmaster has honed his senses in every game of chance and skill ever created. It won't be easy. The Elder tells Thanos that this game will force him to match wits with him. If he tries to take the Infinity Gem before it's completed, the gem is set to continuously jump from one random destination in the universe to another, becoming impossible to track. It will also self-destruct once the task is completed. If Grandmaster loses, the transporter will shut off, thus allowing Thanos to grab the gem. If his vital signs are interrupted, the device will activate as well. They will be playing a game on the mental plane of existence, a quasi-military exercise. Thanos wagers his 5 infinity gems if he loses. They put on their headsets, and with their star chips up for grabs, the shadow game begins. The reality of this mental world has its own set of rules, and Thanos realizes that this isn't just a game of win or lose, but one of life or death. Grandmaster strikes first, and appears to have the upper hand, but Thanos hides himself within one of the constructs. He is able to take Grandmaster off guard, and deliver the kill shot. Checkmate. However, Grandmaster cheated, sabotaging Thanos' weapons before the battle to use against him. He reveals that he let Thanos acquire the other gems from his fellow elders, so he wouldn't have to. He can obtain them all now with ease. It was a robot though, and the real Thanos is still outside the game, who destroys it, along with Grandmaster's mind as well. Thanos acquires the Mind Gem, and much like his other foes, Grandmaster didn't know the right way to use it, which caused his downfall. With all the Infinity Gems now in his possession, the universe is his for the taking. Nothing can stand in his way. Thanos returns to Mistress Death and begs for her love and admiration. He sits beside her as her equal, her lover. However, she still does not speak to him directly because he is now her superior, something that upsets Thanos. He returns to the Infinity Well, believing he has miscalculated himself. No sentient could ever dream or hope for more than I have accomplished. Who could have guessed that becoming God would prove to be such a hollow victory? So that's Thanos Quest. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Thanos as a character wasn't that big of a deal when he first debuted. It wasn't until he was reintroduced in the early 1990s that the character became more fleshed out and interesting as a villain. Thanos Quest was a way for the writers to test the waters with this newly refurbished character, and really sell you on the idea that he could be this larger-than-life, main event-level villain, big enough to take on the entire Marvel Universe, and I think it worked. What I love so much about this storyline is how it focuses on Thanos himself. We get to see everything from his perspective and firmly understand his motivations. We see how clever, calculating, and manipulative he can be, outwitting each and every one of the gem bearers to grow in power. A lot of people say the MCU is entirely responsible for Thanos' recent mainstream appeal, and for the most part that's true, but even if the MCU didn't exist, I would still argue that this character is one of the most underrated Marvel villains ever written. This version of him they reintroduced for this Infinity Gem storyline is nothing short of brilliant. He's clever, charming, can be funny at times in a twisted way, and even speaks to those that oppose him with a certain level of respect, understanding, and dignity, which is admirable, especially coming from a villain. He's also a sympathetic character to a certain extent, willing to do anything for love. Who can't get behind that? At the end, he realizes that being all-powerful has its own set of issues. After death denied him affection, he feels sort of lonely. It was something he foreshadowed when he told the story of the Infinity Gems and the godlike entity they used to be. He says that because it was already made up of everything, it had nothing, or more specifically, no one. That's why Thanos believes it put an end to its own existence. Interesting thing to keep in mind. I enjoy this storyline and recommend anyone pick it up. It's great. Thanos Quest was just the beginning though. There was an even bigger event on the horizon. Thanos was just getting started.